Hello, my name is Heymi Bahar. I am the Senior Analyst at the International Energy Agency, focusing on renewable energy policies and markets. I would like to talk about our recent market report that we released back in October, looking at renewable energy forecast in the coming 5 years. The focus of this year's report was on distributed solar PV. So I would like to give you some of the main messages of the specific focus that we did. First of all, distributed PV, or so-called applications of PV on the roofs or even on the ground, but with self-consumption reasons, have been growing significantly around the world. This is quite important because these applications can be used by individuals or companies or industrial applications in order to produce power, self-consume the power, and sell the excess generation back to the grid. When we look at the current situation in distributed PV, around 40 to 45% of the installations of PV today are already coming from distributed applications, both residential and commercial. When we talk about distributed PV, the first thing that comes to mind is actually homes that installed these applications. However, this is a misperception. Currently, more than 2/3 of installed distributed PV capacity is in commercial or industrial applications because they have economies of scale advantage, they are cheaper, and the fact that they have power demand during the day, they can actually consume more power of they produce. The second important thing is the prices. Solar PV prices have been going down significantly over the last 10 years. Not only on the utility scale, but also on the distributed PV level. Today, in most parts of the world, especially in Europe, when we compare retail prices with the levelized cost of energy of distributed PV, we see an important trend. What is this trend? We see that in most parts of the world, retail prices are higher than the levelized cost of energy of distributed PV, both on commercial and residential applications. Which means that consumers, if they install PV, they start basically making money or reduce their bills. This is a very important development. And in the next 5 years, we expect this trend to consolidate with the declining cost of solar PV in the coming years. And retail prices are expected to remain similar or even higher in some countries. But this depends on the country, obviously. But we see that this economic attractiveness driver will continue to improve in the coming 5 years and will make distributed PV more competitive going forward. In the next 5 years, by 2024, we expect distributed PV capacity globally to more than double. This is an important number. Just to compare, this is actually higher than onshore wind capacity that we expect to come online in the next 5 years. Which means that distributed PV will grow as much as onshore wind, but also it represents half of the all solar PV growth. But this growth has also implications because we are talking about here retail prices, not wholesale prices when we compare competitiveness. And the more people self-consume, the less people pay their bills and the less they contribute to the grid charges. This remains an important challenge. Because overall, even if you have distributed PV installed, you are dependent on the grid for the hours that you don't have sun. In which case, the more we self-consume, the more grid may lose money. So we need a balanced policy in order to address this challenge in the coming 5 years, because the way we consume and produce energy is changing rapidly. The more people self-consume, the more we will see less centralized generation and more distributed generation coming online. We will see this challenge to actually increase in the coming 5 years, especially in places where already the deployment is very high. So policy and regulation plays an important role to address this challenge. There needs to be a balance between keeping distributed PV applications attractive to achieve investment, but at the same time make sure that the grid costs are distributed evenly among PV and non-PV consumers in order to create a balance and achieve better payment of the grid costs going forward, which we need them significantly in the coming 5 years. Thank you very much.